I think one of the coziest things to do is listen to Reddit stories while enjoying some relaxing Minecraft gameplay. So I figured I'd join in and read you guys these wild stories. So please relax and enjoy these stories. Am I the a-hole for not being a bridesmaid? And when asked why, I told her it's not my problem, she doesn't have any female friends. My best friend's brother is getting married. I have known my best friend since first grade, so I was kinda adopted by association by her family. I was over their home often, and I'm still invited to their family events. For example, I just joined for their 4th of July celebrations. My best friend has known me longer than she's known her younger brother. The youngest brother is getting married, and he is marrying a woman named Clara. Clara is not a girl's girl. She fawns over the guys and will make backhanded compliments to put down the women around her, so she looks better. All of the women in the family do not care for her. My best friend's mother has been having a rough time. My best friend tries to avoid her as much as possible, and I've seen her behavior. The recent issue has been the bridesmaid for her wedding. She only had one, and she needs two more to match the number of groomsmen. She asked my best friend, and she agreed, but hasn't been able to find anyone else. Everyone knows why. It's because she is a B word to women, so she doesn't have any girlfriends. She refuses to have guys as her bridesmaid, so she is stuck. Last time I heard, she asked her boss, and she was turned down. I got a call from her, and she asked me to be her bridesmaid. I told her no politely, and I thought that would be the end of it. It was not. She ended up calling my husband, asking me to do it. My husband then handed me the phone, and we got into an argument. It went on for a while, and in the end, I told her it's not my fault she doesn't have any female friends. I hung up after that. Now I'm being told to apologize by my best friend's younger brother, and I won't. And it seems to have caused more of the women in her family to speak out. Now it's a big mess. I was told by my best friend's mom not to worry about it and that the blow up was going to happen eventually. Honestly, it seems like a messy situation to start off with, but I hope everything goes well. It's definitely, if she was polite the first time, then I don't know why she would call her the husband to just continue, make it even more of a mess. But, it happens. Moving on to the next story. Would I be the a-hole for asking my daughter's boyfriend to stop having dinner with us? My daughter, 21, has been dating this guy, 24, for 2 years. It's fairly serious, and he is from Mexico and has been in the US since he was 3 years old. He has a strange phobia of not wanting anyone to see him eat, and it's real. I've literally never seen this kid put a bite of food in his mouth, despite spending a fair amount of time around him. He is thin, but doesn't look unhealthy. The problem is, we will take them out for dinner occasionally for holidays or special occasions. He always orders a full meal. He will cut up the food, push it around the plate, but not eat any of it. And then after the meal, he will donate his leftovers to someone else. It's even worse when I make home cooked meals and they come to dinner. He does the same thing. Takes a full plate of food, pushes it around, cuts it up, makes it look mess with, but doesn't eat any of it. Then he will scrape all of the food into the trash can afterwards. Dang. I'm starting to get enraged over this. He wastes a horrendous amount of food, and I can't stand the money wasted when we buy him expensive restaurant meals that go completely uneaten. It's even caused a few scenes with waiters asking him what's wrong, do they need to change his order, etc. I've talked to my daughter privately and said if he doesn't want to eat, that's fine. Just tell him to stop taking plates of food and ordering in restaurants. Her response was, but in his culture, it's rude for him to not take food. I'm not asking him to do that, but I find it so rude that he is willing to keep wasting our money. Food isn't cheap. Would I be the a-hole for just announcing that he is no longer invited to meals? I can't blame her. Food isn't cheap for sure, and it would make more sense to just not take the food. Like it's not rude if he doesn't. I know it's a cultural thing, but it's better than just wasting so much money and hard effort that is put into making food, especially home cooked meals, you know? And besides, like you wanna like look good in front of the parents, right? So kind of a wild story. Hopefully it went all well. This next one has two updates to it, so I feel like it's going to be a much more crazier one. Am I the a-hole because I told my best friend that he had ruined his relationship and now has to live with it? Hi everyone. I have an old childhood friend. Let's call him Florian. My mothers are best friends and we grew up like siblings. Florian was with Clara until about 6 months ago. They were together for over 10 years. Clara is an old school friend of ours, and the three of us have been friends forever, even before they became a couple. We always did things together as a foursome my boyfriend, Clara, him, and me, and we even went on vacation together quite often. A little over a year ago, Florian came to me and said he felt like he was missing out on something and wanted to try an open relationship with Clara. He wanted advice on how to bring it up. I told him I thought it was a really stupid idea and didn't believe Clara would want it. To make long story short, to make a long story short, she didn't want it, and he gave her an ultimatum. After he, after he pressured her into an open relationship, he immediately started something with his colleague. I still think she was the reason for the open relationship. Clara was devastated. When he went on another date, we had a girls' night out. That's where she met Mark. There was a huge spark between them and they started dating. I'm not proud of it, but I told Florian he absolutely had to stop with that crap if he didn't want to lose her. He didn't take me seriously, not until she left him for Mark. I was always there for him and comforted him. He wanted me to cut off contact with her and talk badly about her. I told him I'd always be there for him, but I wasn't going to give up on our friendship. I told him he just had to stop talking badly about her because she didn't deserve it, and that's just the risk of having an open relationship. Yesterday, we went out to dinner with friends and she joined us on her own. We were already a little tipsy by then. He immediately said, "Oh, trouble in paradise. Guess he was the wrong guy for you after all." The mood was instantly ruined. She said she hadn't brought him along out of respect. He said she could have thought about it before she cheated. I told him just to drop it. Then she started lashing out at me, saying I was so disloyal and that I should have stopped it, and a lot of other things. Unfortunately, I got a little louder and told him he was solely responsible for the end of his relationship and that he should stop blaming everyone else instead of himself. He left and hasn't answered his phone or replied since. I called his mom and she said he doesn't want to talk to me and that she's disappointed I'm not standing by him. I feel so awful about it. Am I the a-hole? Update 1. Hello everyone. Thank you for all your comments. My guilty conscience has been clouding my judgment. To be honest, I still feel really guilty. This whole mess is even affecting our families now. We usually celebrate his 26th birthday with his family. This tradition didn't happen during the pandemic. Yesterday, my mom called me downstairs, and my mom and his mom was there. She said that my mother had told her a different story about that evening and asked if I could please tell her my side of the story. In his version, Clara and Mark arrived at the restaurant, hand in hand, and they kept teasing each other, saying things like, opening up about the relationship was the best thing that ever happened to me. Otherwise, I would have never met the love of my life, etc. He eventually had enough and asked if they could stop teasing. I guess I would have said, serves you right, you wouldn't listen to me. Now she's found someone better, and you're alone. I mean, seriously? I set the record straight, and I was truly moved to tears that he would say such things about me after everything I've done for him. His mom comforted me and said she'd give him a piece of her mind. She must have confronted him because he called me afterward, quite angry, and started yelling at me. I hung up and texted him, I know you're hurt, but that doesn't give you the right to treat me or anyone else like that and spread lies. I don't want any contact with you for now because that friendship is just toxic and is draining me mentally. I hope you realize that with your behavior, you'll lose everyone around you. Start taking responsibility already. I love you and I'm ready to give you a second chance someday, but right now I need some space. I blocked him after that. His family is coming to visit us on the 26th without him. Since Clara, he, and I have the same circle of friends, most of his friends had already turned their backs on him. They only invited him to dinner for my sake. I know it sounds silly, but I feel like my heart has been broken. I hope he'll be back to his old self soon and heal. Thank you and Merry Christmas. And then there's a second update. Hello, everyone. First of all, I wish you all a happy new year and wanted to thank you for the numerous comments. I received a notification that my update was deleted because of the rule stuff. Okay. Florian is now history. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I don't care anymore. He's found a new target for his anger, namely me. He gossiped to our friends, saying that I was to blame for his relationship breaking up. He claimed that I had set up Clara with Mark. Remember, I even warned him that Mark was a threat. Apparently, a few other unpleasant insults were also exchanged when the others contradicted him. He gave them an ultimatum. He gave them an ultimatum. Clara and me or him. Well, the others told him they didn't want anything to do with him anymore because they were simply fed up with his antics and uninvited him from our New Year's trip. One of the group has a cabin in Austria, and we go there every year for New Year's. I've completely cut off contact with him now. In his frenzy to bad in his frenzy to badmouth me, he even told some of the stories that he only knows about me. I just can't trust him anymore. I also have to say that it felt incredibly good to meet up with friends without him. There was no drama, and we were able to really talk about what was going on in our lives again. It was truly relaxing and wonderful. I wish Florian all the best, but I don't need someone like him in my life anymore. That's the end of that. Yeah, he didn't take any responsibility, and because he kept blaming everyone else except for him, he ended up losing all of his friends. So it does make sense, you know? Okay, guys, this next story is really messy, so prepare yourselves. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my daughter after she slept with her sister's husband? Oh, yeah, we're already off to a crazy start. I, 59 female, have two daughters. Emma, 35 female, and Chloe, 33 female. Emma has been married to her husband for 11 years, 36 male, and they have two children together. Chloe has been married to her husband, 34 male, for 8 years, and they have one 5-year-old son. About 6 weeks ago, Emma called me just after midnight, completely hysterical. She told me she'd suspected for months that her husband was hiding something. He'd become distant, constantly guarded his phone, and was always finding excuses to stay late at work. That night, after he fell asleep beside her, she looked through his phone for the first time. She found years of explicit messages between him and Chloe. The affair had been going on for almost 4 years. Emma was devastated. She kept asking me how her own sister could do this to her. A few days later, we were at my brother's birthday party wherein Emma confronted Chloe outside. Chloe denied everything at first, but insisted Emma had misunderstood. When Emma said she'd read the messages for herself, Chloe completely fell apart. She started crying, admitted the affair, and kept repeating, I don't know why I did it. I am so sorry. It was the biggest mistake of my life. Emma asked how 4 years could possibly be a mistake. Chloe had no answer. The argument escalated into a screaming match. Chloe tried to slap Emma, but several relatives stepped in before she could. Chloe's husband quietly took their son home after realizing what had happened. Within days, he told Chloe he wanted a divorce. Emma also filed for divorce after her husband admitted everything. After it all came out, Chloe called me 82 times in one day. I answered once because I hoped she was calling to explain herself. Instead, she cried the entire time, begging me not to abandon her. She said she'd already lost her husband, was probably going to lose shared custody of her son, and couldn't bear losing her mother too. She said she knew she didn't deserve forgiveness, but begged me not to hate her forever. I told her I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. I said this wasn't one bad decision. It was years of lying to her sister, to her husband, and to the rest of us. I told her I loved her because she's my daughter, but I didn't want contact with her for the foreseeable future. Since then, I've ignored every attempt she's made to reach out. This is where my family thinks I'm wrong. My sisters say Chloe had already lost everything: her marriage, her relationship with her sister, many of her friends, and likely the family she dreamed of giving her son. They say she's genuinely remorseful, has started individual therapy, and isn't trying to justify what she did. They argue that if a mother won't stand by her child after they've hit rock bottom, who will? They also remind me that cutting off Chloe means my grandson is growing up without her grandmother, even though he's done nothing wrong. I understand all of that, but every time I think about welcoming Chloe back into my life, I picture Emma reading those messages alone in the middle of the night, realizing that the two people she trusted most had been lying to her for years. I don't know if I can move past that. My family says I'm punishing Chloe forever for something she already deeply regrets. I feel like I'm simply refusing to pretend it never happened. Am I the a-hole? I know a lot of people are used to seeing cheating posts and always thinking they are fake, but what would you do if you were in my shoes? And then an update. I know it's very early for me to post an update, but I wasn't planning on it. But after reading the comments on my first post, I decided I needed one final conversation with Chloe before I can completely close the door. I went to her house yesterday, and I expected her to be emotional after calling me 82 times in one day, but she was surprisingly calm. I asked her the one question I still couldn't understand. Why? She admitted she had been attracted to Emma's husband for years. She said what started as an admiration eventually became feelings, and over time, they crossed the line. Instead of ending it, they kept convincing themselves it would be the last time. She insisted she regretted everything. I asked if she'd spoken to Emma. She told me the only contact she'd had was one text before Emma blocked her on everything. Emma told her she destroyed her family, taken away her children's stable home, and that she hoped the affair had been worth losing a sister forever, because as far as she was concerned, Chloe no longer had one. Emma blocked her immediately afterward. Chloe also admitted she later waited outside the school gates hoping to speak to Emma when she came to collect the kids. Emma refused to speak to her, warned her to stay away from her and the children, and told her that if she ever approached them again, she'd regret it. Chloe left crying. I told Chloe her waiting outside the school was completely inappropriate, regardless of her intentions. She insisted she only wanted to apologize and prove she cared about Emma. I then asked if she truly felt remorseful. That's when I completely lost my patience. Instead of taking full responsibility, Chloe started telling me Emma's marriage had already been falling apart, that Emma and her husband had been drifting apart for years, and that he often confided in her. She admitted the affair was wrong, but repeatedly tried to place part of the blame on Emma, saying if their marriage had been happier, none of this would have happened. I was furious. I honestly couldn't believe I had raised someone capable of thinking like that. I told her there's no marriage bad enough to justify secretly sleeping with your own sister's husband for 4 years. I told her I wasn't just disappointed, I was ashamed she was my daughter. The more she tried to justify herself, the more angry I became. The conversation eventually turned to her own divorce. She talked about how difficult everything had been for her, and how her husband still had plans to move to Washington with their son to be closer to his family. She said she may have to move there too if she wants to stay close to him. As she spoke, I realized almost everything about that was what she had lost: her marriage, her home, her reputation, and possibly seeing her son every day. Very little of it was about Emma and the damage she'd caused. At the end of the conversation, Chloe asked if we were cool now. I told her no, we were not cool, and we might never be. I said that if I ever found it in my heart to reconcile with her, it would be on my terms and in my own time. Not because she thought one conversation could erase 4 years of lies and betrayal. I walked out feeling angrier than I arrived. I honestly don't know what to do anymore. I love both of my daughters, but after that conversation, I am convinced Chloe truly never understood the pain she caused. Like I said, guys, this one is a really messy situation. Honestly, the Chloe should have thought about her actions before she started doing it, because obviously you would get caught. And I feel like she's only sorry and she only regrets it because she was caught. Otherwise, who knows how long this affair would have gone for if um her sister didn't catch her. But yeah, guys, very insane story. Moving on. Am I the a-hole for not defending my wife when my sister called her fat? My sister, 27 female, was visiting my wife, 32 female, and me, 33 male, the other day. An important thing to know about my sister is that she has a child, 5 male, with her now ex-boyfriend, 27 male. When my sister found out she was pregnant, she told her then boyfriend that she was pregnant. He wanted to marry her in a shotgun wedding of sorts, but my sister said no. The only information she offered up was that there was no way they would be compatible in the long term, and I don't think it's any of my business to probe or question her about it. Soonly after, my sister and her boyfriend broke up, but they established a healthy co parenting relationship, and both now have 50-50 custody with stable, well paying jobs and live close by to each other. My wife strongly thinks that my sister should have gotten married and hates that my sister refers to her ex boyfriend as her baby daddy. I don't think my sister really cares that she had a child out of wedlock, but every time my wife meets my sister, she brings up the fact that she should try to get her boyfriend back and ask him to propose again and ask why she does not want to marry him, especially since my sister has been single these past 5 years. It has gotten to a point that she told me privately that she is fed up with this and has asked me to speak to my wife about this, which I have. The other day, my sister visited my wife and I at our house. We were having a normal conversation, and my sister was talking about her son entering kindergarten and all the ways she was preparing him. The convo seemed pretty mundane until my wife once again brought up that my sister should try to get married at the courthouse with her ex boyfriend, and that the other parents would view her as immature and would think of her child as illegitimate if she didn't. Before I could even jump in and say anything to defuse the situation, my sister was raging and said that my wife should worry about her fat self and losing 100 pounds. Dang, before her worrying about her child and that a ring can't hide her triple chin, and to worry less about her going to the courthouse and more about the gym. Oh my god, guys. My wife has always been on the bigger side, and I absolutely love her and adore her. But it is one of her biggest insecurities. She ended up sobbing while my sister grabbed her things and left. This whole argument took about 2 minutes, and I froze up and didn't really know what to do. After my sister left, my wife asked why I didn't say anything to defend her to my sister. I was honest and said I thought she was wrong for calling my sister immature and her child illegitimate. While I ac- while I acknowledged it was wrong for my sister to make the comments she did, I don't think they were completely unprovoked. My wife is now giving me the silent treatment. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? I I don't even have any words to describe this whole situation. Um, Calling her fat and losing 100 pounds and then roasting her about her triple chin is also insane. But like the guy said, it's not unprovoked. Um, yeah, guys, moving on. Am I the a-hole for standing on business and ruining everyone's day? So here's what happened. Me and three of my friends were supposed to be going to an event today. The event is about a 2 hour drive from where we all live, so one of my friends was going to drive and we were all going to ride together. Where I live, the temperatures are already well into the mid 90s, so I was already on the fence about going to the event because it was going to be semi outdoors. So my friend swings by to pick me up, and he has all the windows rolled down on his truck. He only lives a couple of minutes down the road from me, so I figured he was just letting the excess heat out of the truck before turning on the AC. We drive about 10 minutes to pick up our other two friends, and he still hasn't turned on the AC. Okay, kind of weird. We get about 15 minutes into the drive on the way to the event, and I finally turn to him and ask if he's going to roll up the windows and crank down the AC. This motherfucker, he says that we're going to be out in it all day, so we might as well get used to it. I tell him that I am not sitting in an unair conditioned vehicle and to stop and start traffic for 2 hours, and that he needs to turn on the AC. The other two people in the vehicle obviously agree with me, so we're all sweating through our clothes already. He says something to the effect of, my truck, my rules, to which I tell him either turn on the AC or pull over and let me out. He tells me that he's not going to pull over and that we could just suck it up and deal with it. I tell him that he can either pull over the truck or I'm going to jump out and find another way home at my first opportunity. He won't pull over, but about 5 minutes later, we were at a dead stop at a traffic light and we're right next to the edge of the road. I toss my seatbelt off and jump out of the truck and start heading back towards the last gas station we passed. About 10 seconds later, I hear my two friends in the back seat jump out and start catching up with me. Apparently, they were already on the fence about the event for the same reasons that I was, and this was the last straw for both of them as well. We get back to the gas station that we just passed and call a Lyft to come and get us and take us home. He manages to make a U turn and get to the gas station before the Lyft can pick us up and is trying to get us back into the truck, saying that he'll run the AC and that we can still go. But at this point, we were all pissed off hot and felt nasty, so we just ended up going into the Lyft and leaving. We essentially end up telling him that if he wanted to go, that he was going to go by himself, which he ended up not doing. Now he's blowing up our phones in the group chat saying how we ruined the day. He insists that what we did was overly dramatic, but I just feel like we just stood on business. Am I, or are we, the a-holes? Yeah, guys, it's hot where I'm living at, and I can't imagine myself going on a 2 hour drive with no AC. Like, sorry about the event and the plans that were made, but you gotta be out of your mind if you think we're gonna be in a hot truck. in a hot weather, going to an event that was also semi outside. So, fair enough, good for standing on business. My brother in law claims he's been dating the same woman for 10 years. She says they haven't spoken in 10 years. My brother in law is in his late 30s and has been, supposedly, dating the same girl for 10 years. Let's call her Brady. His name is Jim. They met when he was a student teacher, so he was an adult and she was still in high school. She is my age, maybe a year younger, probably 28. Jim's brother, Dolan, and Brady graduated together, and they did not get along primarily because she ratted Dolan out for something that he claims he did not do. He's a liar sometimes, so I don't know how reliable that is. Fast forward to now. I have never met Brady. I've been with my husband Bork, Jim's brother, since 2018. Jim has never brought Brady to family reunions, holidays, our wedding, etc. There's always been some excuse. Also, note that Jim does not have social media. Jim talks about Brady's niece and nephew all the time, knows all the details about them, has shown us pictures, etc. Sometimes, Jim can't come to family events because he says he's with Brady. My mother in law has even said she's heard him talk to her on the phone, shown her pictures, heard him call her sweetie, and says that she's on his phone plan. He's also been able to relate some issues with her that I've had issues with, like with my gut health, anxiety, and whatnot. He's talked about where she works, what he does, etc. He's talked about moving closer to her. She lives an hour and a half from us. Additionally, a few years ago, we saw Brady's sister and their kids that he talks about to us all the time, at a pumpkin patch, and Jim bolted the other way, which was weird since that is her sister, and he talked so highly of her and her kids. This is where it gets weird. In October of last year, my husband found a picture on Facebook of a firefighter and Brady kissing at a Halloween party. And since Jim doesn't have any social media, my husband sent it to Jim. Jim thanked them and Jim thanked them and was sad for about 5 months. Jim then proceeded to begin talking about Brady again this last month. At work, he's been telling people we work at the same building that they've been together for 10 years. Also, me and my husband found out last year that Brady is their third cousin on their dad's side. LOL. A few weeks ago, I decided to follow Brady on Instagram and invite her to my son's birthday as well as introduce myself since, well, I had never met her. I noticed immediately that there are no pictures of her and Jim, and she isn't shy of posting. She replied and said that she has not talked to Jim in 10 years. Jim immediately messages me and tells me not to talk to Brady and thanked me for thinking of her though and that they were working through some things. I messaged Brady back and said, LMFAO, I am so sorry. I thought y'all were together. He talks about you all the time. Jim immediately texts me again and tells me to block her. She messages me back and said, That's okay. What does he say about me? And I told her just general things about her niece and nephew since they're the same age as our kids, her health and how it related to mine, and how we have similar nicknames from Jim and my husband. She left me on red. Jim came by my office at work the next day and said that he was sorry for that interaction I had with her. Not sure if he knows she told me they hadn't talked in 10 years, and that she was so overwhelmed by the kind gesture of me reaching out that she didn't know how to react. He said her mom called and said she was so upset that she might have to go to console. She might have to console Brady. Jim seemed nervous during the whole conversation with me in person. He wouldn't make eye contact and kept seeming like he was searching for words during that whole interaction. He then told my husband something completely different. Jim told him that he was overwhelmed by me messaging her. Doesn't explain why she told me it's been 10 years since Jim and her haven't talked. Just left the conversation at that. Since then, Jim has been distant from the family, but he did mention her randomly the other day, very specific detail about her dog. I did message her cousin, which I'm friends with her friend, and she was flabbergasted by all of this, saying that Brady has brought several guys' homes and to family functions over the last 10 years, and that she even had one recently, and that she hasn't mentioned Jim since they were supposedly secretly dating when she was an underage and he was an adult, student teaching at her school. What is going on here? My husband doesn't want to touch the issue with a 10-foot stick because the thought of his brother being insane is maddening to him. This entire family has some loose screws. My husband is the only one that seems normal. What are your thoughts? Are there any subreddits I can cross to? Any theories? Any thoughts from outsiders are welcome. I feel like this is a Dateline episode, and no, I'm not nosy. I'm just too far deep into this to back off because if my brother in law is a sociopath, I would love to know. Then there's an update. Well, y'all were right. It somehow got even weirder. I reached back out to Brady one last time because I honestly felt bad for dragging her into this. I just wanted to make sure she was okay and that this wasn't some blink twice if you need help situation. She basically said, "No, I wasn't overwhelmed. I was just really confused why he's still talking about me." She told me she had zero contact with Jim in about 10 years and has absolutely no intention of ever speaking to him again. She said she was genuinely creeped out that he knows so much about her life. She also told me she wasn't upset with me at all. She was uncomfortable because of him. Then I asked her how Jim could possibly know all these insanely specific details about her life. I'm talking about her nieces and nephews, her dog, her old job, her health issues, and the fact that he has told all of us that they're still dating, that she's on his phone plan, and that she's literally pretended to talk to her on the phone in front of his own family. To that she said, "WTF, none of that is true. I don't even have his phone number." Apparently, the only explanation she could come up with was maybe her mom had been talking to Jim over the years. So she called her mom right after I messaged her that, which I guess explains why he knew so fast. And that her mom admitted they've stayed in touch and just talk about life. Which what? Brady said she was completely blindsided by that and got into a huge argument with her mom because she feels like her privacy had been totally violated. I mentioned that Jim had recently brought up her dog and some random story about one of her friends, literally the other day, accidentally feeding him grapes. Brady said, "Yeah, that actually happened, but I only told my family and close friends about that." She asked me to please let her know if Jim keeps talking about her because she wants to know if this continues. At this point, I honestly don't know what to think. I will share though that after the first interaction with her, when when we were all talking about it as a family, me, husband, mother-in-law, and Dulland. Apparently, her mom, according to my mother-in-law, which is kind of crazy. I didn't believe it at first because it didn't make any sense, but apparently she's obsessed with her daughters and posts all of their pictures which she posts, which also explains where Jim has been getting all the pictures from the mom. And we all joke that maybe Jim is being catfished by the mom, but I think maybe the mom is so obsessed with her daughters, she shares everything with everyone, and maybe Jim has taken this information and created a fake relationship with her, and casually asks for pictures and updates on the family. I don't know. I'm confused and tired. Yeah, this is a really creepy situation. I can't imagine the girl finding out that this guy has been talking about her for 10 years, acting like they've been together for 10 years. And I wonder if anything came out of it because there isn't another update that explains like the final results or conclusions that happened after this. But honestly, a truly insane story. I hope everyone's good and doing well. Am I the a-hole for not wanting our friend to ever come back to our house after he ate literally everything we owned? My husband and I live abroad. Earlier this year, a mutual acquaintance, let's call him K, reached out saying he'd been scammed with an apartment rental and had nowhere to stay. At first, we only offered a weekend, but he was polite, helped around the house, and seemed grateful, so we ended up letting him stay the full 20 days he'd asked for. During that time, some things rubbed us the wrong way. He never bought groceries, and multiple times he pretended he was going to pay but forgot his wallet, or claimed he could only use Apple Pay, not accepted at our local supermarket. He'd eat way more than his share. Once my husband and I shared half a pizza, and he ate the other pizza and a half without contributing. Still, we felt bad for him, so we let it go. We stayed friendly, and a few months later, we were planning a 17-day trip. Since he was struggling with rent, we offered him to stay at our place in exchange for taking care of our dog. I even wrote a Google Doc with instructions for the house, dog care, gym access, etc. I told him he could eat anything that was going to expire fruit, veggies, yogurt, etc. When we came back, everything was gone, and I mean everything. The entire fridge, freezer, pantry. He finished 2 jars of jam, a jar of peanut butter, a giant Costco bottle of olive oil, condiments, rice, snacks, cheese, even my husband's supplements, creatine, protein, collagen. He completely destroyed a ceramic pan. He consumed things that usually last us 6 months in just 2 weeks. I honestly suspect he might have taken stuff with him because it's insane how much was missing. I didn't confront him, except to ask him to replace the pan, which he mocked about. It's just a pan. Why are you making it a big deal? I felt deeply disrespected. Now he keeps texting me, acting like nothing happened, and wants to hang out. I told my husband I don't want him in our home ever again. My husband says I'm being too harsh, and if he wants to stay friends, that's his choice. But I completely feel taken advantage of and disrespected. So am I the a-hole for not wanting to see this guy ever again and refusing to let him come back to our house? Yeah, I don't know how you could finish so much food in 2 weeks. Like, if they're true, entire fridge, freezer, and pantries, well, I don't know. Yeah, like it wouldn't take me 2 weeks to finish any of that. It would take me months. Like as a solo person, because for her it's her and her husband, but that guy's living on his own. So I don't understand how that any of that makes any sense. But that's wild. Most likely, people in the comments are saying that he stole the stuff and just took it back to his place, which is I don't even know. That's kind of scummy. But yeah, kind of weird. That's all I got for today. I'm going to be making more videos like this in the foreseeable future, and I want to thank all of you for watching. Please let me know if there's any way I can improve or upgrade these, whether it's the way I talk or the stories I choose. I would be grateful. Take care and peace out.